Ho, 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 and a Merry Christmas. It is episode 31 of the Fantasy Flyer, the Christmas special with Derek and Taylor, your esteemed hosts. We're going to cover the Week 16 preview. We're going to give you 5 Fantasy Flyers. We're going to play host v host, and then we are going to go through the Fantasy Flyer season of giving. It all starts right now on a cheerful edition of the Fantasy Flyer.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. The bells on bobtail ring, they make our spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Sleigh.
Good day, fantasy followers. Derek in the pad, makeshift pad. Taylor's in his gojo on the dojo, and it is the Christmas special. I'm in my ugly sweater. Taylor is also repping.
Oh, it got blurred. It got blurred. We're gonna have to go down low here. Keep it PG.
It's nice to just enjoy the holidays with my Taco Bell cup. You know,
it's very festive.
Very festive indeed. Welcome to episode 31. It is the Christmas special.
We still haven't made it to my age yet.
No, we still have another 19 years to go. We'll get there. He's gonna point it out once he gets there, and then it's gonna be a whole different shebang here. Yeah, a lot to talk about today. We're gonna cover 5 or 6 of the important games going on today, by the time this is posted today. And then we'll kind of flash through the rest of them. We're also going to have a 2-part Christmas info special. We're going to have the stocking stuffer. And we're also going to have, what was the other name that I put through the other one? Because it's important that we put that there. The season of giving. That is what it is called, the 2 parts. I had to look it up because I've been writing around it and I didn't read it. So if you guys haven't got the gist that I don't read all of the things, then you know. But as usual, we'll start this episode with the 9. So Taylor, go ahead and take it away, good sir.
You bet. Reminder, the majority of games are tomorrow, Saturday. We've already had one on Thursday, obviously. There's still the Monday night, and there are only 3 on Sunday, which is Christmas Day. Moving on to Arizona, Marquise Brown with a groin injury, late addition. He had a midweek injury. Looks like he logged limited practice Thursday and Friday after that, so hopefully he should be good to go, but keep an eye out on that. Greg Dortch, knee injury, not on the injury report. Reminder, Trace McSorley is starting for the Cardinals. Baltimore, Lamar Jackson is officially out. Tyler Huntley still on the injury report as questionable, was limited participant Wednesday and Thursday. Harbaugh said he is not concerned about his ability to complete passes, so it sounds like he will be starting. Chicago, Khalil Herbert was officially reinstated to the 53-man roster from IR. We talked about that or touched on that a little bit on the previous show, but he might cut into Montgomery's work a little bit. We were anticipating somewhere around 30% snap percentage. Equinemius St. Brown with his concussion is out. Chase Claypool with a knee injury is doubtful. Cincinnati, this one comes as a surprise as it seemed like he thought he was going to play, but Hayden Hurst with his calf injury is out. Cleveland, Nick Chubb, foot, David Bell toe, David Njoku knee are not on the injury report. So good news there. Dallas, Noah Brown foot, not on injury report. Denver, Kendall Hinton with the hamstring is out. Cortland Sutton hamstring, limited all week, and said on Friday he's in a good position to play. So looks like he's trending in the right direction. Latavius Murray with a foot injury is listed as, Cortland Sutton is still listed as questionable. Latavius Murray also listed as questionable, limited participant Wednesday. Yes, limited participant Wednesday, missed Thursday, returned Friday as a limited participant. And it looks like he indicated he is ready to play this weekend. Green Bay, Aaron Jones not on the injury report. Houston, Nico Collins with a foot injury is out. Chris Moore with a foot injury is listed as questionable, limited participant all week. Brandon Cooks, who came off the injury report, is now back on the injury report as questionable with his calf injury. Practiced in full all week. Not sure.
Calf injury.
Yeah, right. Not sure how that'll pan out, but I don't know how much it really matters. Kylan Granson, looks like I forgot to put what his actual injury was, but he did not practice Thursday and Friday, so not trending in the right direction. Looks like it was an ankle injury. Kansas City, Mecole Hardman. We had talked about him being in track to come back off of IR. It looks like they changed that and he is no longer on track to play. Miami, Jeff Wilson, hip injury, limited all week, still questionable. Keep an eye on that. As we saw with Mostert last weekend, he had a phenomenal game with Jeff out. Obviously, when he's back, they would split carries, and Mostert would not be as reliable. I guess he would just be a average flex play. New England, all of their usuals are questionable. Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevens, and Tyquan Thornton and Jacoby Myers, all questionable. Unfortunately, Devontae Parker is still out with the concussion injury. New Orleans, Chris Olave is officially out with a hamstring injury. Jarvis Landry is headed to IR. Adam Troutman, ankle injury is questionable, limited participant all week. Dwayne Washington is out with migraines. This one was anticipated, but Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts is officially out. Gardner Minshew will start. Pittsburgh, Deontay Johnson with toe injury is questionable, limited participant Tuesday, didn't practice Wednesday and Thursday, and returned to practice on Friday. To me, that sounds like he's trending in the right direction and probably will play, but keep an eye on that. Najee Harris and Kenny Pickett, both not on the injury report, so good news there. San Francisco, Brock Purdy, not on the injury report. Christian McCaffrey, not on the injury report. Good news there. Jordan Mason, who has been filling in more or less as the backup or give Christian McCaffrey some air. He is questionable. Apparently Wednesday, his hamstring tightened up and was limited the rest of the week. What is it? Tyron Davis Price would be the guy that would fill in for Jordan Mason. And then reminder, Deebo Samuel is out. Seattle, Kenneth Walker, ankle and back. I think the back spasm is a new thing, but he's questionable. Didn't practice all week, but apparently Carroll says he is in line to play. We all know Carroll is optimistic. I don't know if non-truthful is the right way to put it, but he's very optimistic. So take what Carroll says with a grain of salt. Keep an eye on Walker. Most teams have to provide like the injury information 90 minutes prior to the game. So keep an eye on that. DJ Dallas, one of the other running backs, we saw Travis Homer be the one that really filled in, but DJ Dallas also questionable. Carroll says he's slated to play. Noah Fant, knee injury, questionable, didn't practice Tuesday and Wednesday, limited on Thursday. Carroll said he's likely to play. Marquise Goodwin, who we talked about filling in for Lockett, has a wrist and ankle injury, is listed as questionable, limited Wednesday, didn't practice Thursday. Carroll said it was a rest day. And then Carol also says he's likely to play.
For what it's worth, I really like him if he plays.
Yes, so do I.
And if he doesn't, I guess you have to trust in Eskridge.
So is Eskridge back? I thought he was still.
If not, then you have to go with the forgotten Viking Laquan Treadwell.
Right.
I mean, either one is not. If he's not back, I mean that's how little I paid attention to it. But I'm just saying, if he's back, I like Eskridge more. He knows the offense better. But
Yeah, so Eskridge is on IR. That was a month ago. They haven't said
moving,
anything if he's coming back or not. So
that'd be Laquan Treadwell.
yeah. Although Penny Hart, yeah, I don't know. I don't like either of them. Neither of them
Start
have gotten.
Metcalf.
Yes, exactly. Start Metcalf. Moving on to Tampa Bay. Julio Jones, limited all week, listed as questionable, as we talked about last show. Russell Gage would be in line for more work again, and he actually did pretty well with it last week. So Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill officially out. Traylon Burks with his concussion listed as questionable, full participant all week. And finally, Washington, Antonio Gibson, not on the injury report. So good news there. That is it for the 9.
All right. A stocky Christmas stuffed 9. That's the best way we can put that. There we go. We'll quick do a Thursday night football review. I saw going into this game that the Jets were 2.5-point favorites. No, that's the easiest way to start with that. I literally was like, thanks for the free money.
Right.
I'll take the plus 2.5 on this one for the Jaguars. Mostly because Zach Wilson was starting again, and that's a great indication that you can win money off the Jets. So I
Yeah.
did. Couple free bets, just about $60. Nothing big, chump change. The Jets are bad. I mean, they proved it. Zach Wilson proved it. He got booed out of his own stadium by people who were just, I mean,
He didn't even
and I
finish
didn't
the game.
No, he did not. Chris Streveler, I don't know. It's the fourth string.
Yeah.
Fourth string. They were
Strevler.
like, there's this thing with Flacco. He's like 39, so let's try this guy. He might even be older than that for all I know. Whatever. They had 78 yards in the first, I don't know, 6 drives of the game. And Streveler came in and had 84 yards on his first drive alone.
Right.
So, I mean, if there's that's more to Zach Wilson just being a complete I'm not going to say nice words, so I'll stop. But man, I didn't realize till yesterday how bad his contract was. Actually, it was late last night after the game or into early this morning. I did not realize how bad his contract
For
is.
him or for the Jets? I actually haven't looked at it.
Well, he ripped him off.
Yeah, okay.
It's looking like he ripped him off. His dead cap hit is like the best it gets is like $11 million in 2025. And it goes up like a substantial amount. It's not good. It's not, it's like literally the worst. So congrats to the Jets on that. Probably gonna end up eating some money somewhere because I don't understand what his thing like. I was like, all right, let him throw, and then they let him throw, and he wasn't good, and I was like, well, that was a mistake. Shouldn't have told him that. Not like they listen to me, but still, the problem with the team is the offense. Like we know this. Like there's nothing happening with this offense that's impressive. The Jacksonville Jaguars only had 19 points. That's a good number. That's a good number to keep them to. The problem is the Jets offense only had 3 points. So no. Zach Wilson playing makes everybody on that team. First off, they're not fantasy. They're not worth a look in fantasy in any format. They're really not. Garrett Wilson had 4 catches for 30 yards last night and a fumble. Now, granted, fumble's not on Zach Wilson, but if you can't move the team, this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get booed out of your stadium. Um, yeah, Strevler came in the third quarter, I believe it was, and had a really good drive. I mean, the thing is, they don't know what to expect when you put him in.
Right.
You can kind of switch the game plan for Mike White or Joe Flacco. You know it's flying. The ball's going to fly a little more. You know it's probably going to go longer than Zach Wilson. It's probably going to be a hair more accurate. They're going to do it a lot more. You didn't know what to expect with Strevler. He had, I don't know, what did he have, 40, 50 yards on the ground? I'm not looking at the box score right now. It's in my other window. Jacksonville really growing as a Trevor Lawrence is really growing as a quarterback. I like him. I'm starting to really fall like,
Fall for him.
yeah, it's pretty very, um yeah, he's like sunshine. That's every time I look at him, that's all I think is sunshine from Remember the Titans.
Yes, exactly.
Which also doesn't help my case because in that movie he was gay. All right.
Bye. Have a great time.
Yeah, but he's been really good. He's learning to read when he can run with the ball. He knows where to run with the ball. He knows when it's time to do that. He knows when this internal clock in his head that he's been in the pocket too long goes off and away he goes. He's really accurate for the most part. I think he's growing into somebody that Jacksonville should be happy with. And I can see that he's taken steps forward since the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So, another good thing about this game is let's have a chit chat about Evan Ingram because he's had these couple good games, and I did not realize that he's the tight end 4 on the year.
Yeah.
In PPR formats, he is the tight end 4. Mark Andrews, obviously Travis Kelce. And I can't remember who the other one was off the top of my head.
I think it's Hawkinson.
Yes, Hawkinson is 2. You're right. So, which the 2 offenses that Hawk is on, I'm not surprised. He
Right.
has more fantasy points than George Kittle. Granted, George Kittle missed a few games. But he's been balling out. He's the tight end 2 since week 10. I hope for Jacksonville's sake that they realize what they have here and they continue to utilize him going into next year. Is, in your opinion, this sustainable going into next year? You are going to have Calvin Ridley. You are going to have Christian Kirk on that team. You're going to have a couple monsters. Zay Jones will probably be there still, I think. I think Marvin Jones is the one who's leaving, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that, but yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's sustainable. I guess my short answer is yes, it's sustainable, but the amount that we've seen so far, like that 140-point fantasy game, and like now he's had a couple of like a 19 and an 18 this most recent week. I don't know if it'll be on that level, especially with Calvin Ridley there. But I think to the point of tight ends, I think that him being a top 5 tight end is sustainable. I think that we've seen what he could do with the Giants. Then he had some injury issues, and that's honestly the only concern really. He's a talented guy. Once he got used to this offense and once Trevor Lawrence got more acquainted with him, it seems like it's really shown again. So I don't see why this shouldn't be able to continue at some level of success.
I feel like that Jacksonville, compared to how New York was using him, I feel like they're using him in different ways. I feel like Ingram was either blocking or he was leaving from that right spot, right of the court, like right end of the offensive line. He was either blocking there for a run or for a pass or whatever it was, or he was taking off and running a route. And I noticed when I watched some of the game, they're moving him back and forth. He's the peg, he's the guinea pig to see if it's man or if it's zone on the line. So if somebody moves with him, obviously it's man. So they're using him as the peg, but they're also sending him from both sides. And they're on top of blocking, obviously. but he's looks more athletic than he was with New York. He looks like he can get up for passes. It looks like if the ball is placed, I'm not going to say anywhere because he's not, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, but if you put it in a spot where at least the defender can't get it, Evan Ingram will. And he's catching these, you have to miss the defender. Evan will do the rest.
Right.
Lawrence 20 for 31, 229 yards. Only touchdown was him on the ground. No other ones. He had 51 yards running the ball. His arm power with his foot, if he can continue to use his feet that way, he can be a dangerous quarterback. And I like him going into next year. It'll be interesting, if not the playoffs, because again, we're going to find out with this Tennessee and Houston game exactly how far that goes, as far as Tennessee goes anyway. ETN, 22 carries, 83 yards. Receiving, Evan Ingram, 7 catches, 113 yards. No one else had more than 3. Travis Etienne, 3 catches for 29. Christian Kirk, 3 catches on 6 targets, 22 yards. Marvin Jones, 3 catches, 15 yards on 4 targets. Ingram, 7 of his 8 targets. That is the 4th straight game that he has caught 80% of his targets or more. He's having a season. I mean, let's just put it that way. Jacksonville, and you know what? Here's the thing. You can't say that he is not a very crucial part to this streak that Jacksonville's on. They're using everything appropriately, but he's been a big part of that. For the Jets, Zach Wilson was 9 for 18, 92 yards and an interception. Streveler. I
think it's Streveler.
I think it's Streveler. All right. Strevy boy there. Strevacaster, 10 for 15, 90 yards. Also had 54 yards on the ground on 9 carries. No one else from the Jets had more than 7 yards on the ground. The Zonovan Knight experiment seems to be failing now. He had -2 yards on 6 carries. He did have 1 catch for 15 yards. I'm not sure what to think of that because Jacksonville it's not this team you can't run against. They are a good defensive 7. And especially at a couple times during this game, they were clouding the run game, but it didn't look like this just looks like a bad backfield more than it does a good Jacksonville defense. The leading receiver for the Jets was Michael Carter. He had 4 of his 5 catches in the last drive. He had 5 for 44, excuse me. Caught all 5 of his targets. Tyler Conklin, 4 for 34. Garrett Wilson, 4 for 30 on 9 targets. Elijah Moore, 2 for 15. Everybody else caught something, and it wasn't very impressive. I feel really bad for this Jets defense for having to watch this offense go on the field and knowing they will be back out there in 3 plays.
Yeah.
Because it's just the way it goes. That is just the way it goes. I don't think there was anything huge. I know Jacksonville won the time of possession by this game. I land like pretty convincingly. Yeah, 34, almost 35 minutes to 25. And Jets had 9 penalties for 64 yards, which hurts. I don't need that. Don't need that if you're a Jets fan, not at all. Anything to add from this one? I'm not necessarily surprised at all. I think it's good to see Michael Carter getting involved in the pass game for the Jets, actually using him. It's just they have to use everybody else appropriately.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Zach Wilson was the problem here, as we saw when Streveler came in and actually had a decent drive. He had a couple of okay opportunities, one of which ended in a turnover. I think Garrett Wilson fumbled the ball, and then another one, I forget exactly what happened, but they ended up not getting a first down and having to kick a field goal, which they may have actually missed. Anyways, it seemed like Streveler was actually able to move the offense a lot better. And I mean, to your point, like, was that because Jacksonville didn't prepare for him specifically, maybe, but he also didn't prepare with the ones. So I don't know. Point being, we've seen a much better Jets offense with Mike White, with Flacco.
With
So
anyone not named Zach Wilson.
exactly. And so is Donovan Knight, I won't say a bust or sort of falling off here. I think part of it is just the horrid not play calling, because he's not doing play calling per se, but I think it's just Zach Wilson. Hopefully Mike White comes back. Unfortunately, probably too late. I think this Jets team is no longer going to make the playoffs, which honestly is probably for the best, because they wouldn't have gone very far.
No, honestly, at this point, they should try and get back to the middle of the first round.
Yeah,
Get something offensive.
right.
Don't want to say it's the offensive line, because that ain't gonna really help you. Their offensive line seems decent for the most part. Middle of the pack, if not even sometimes even a little bit better. You have really good young pieces. It's just Zach Wilson's not one of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're gonna do now that's yeah, good for the Jaguars. We'll also add that. It's important for their playoff hopes, because if they win out, they can make the playoffs. The Colts were eliminated with that win. If you thought the Colts were eliminated before yesterday, I also thought that. So, but statistically now they are. So now that that's over, we'll do an episode segment of 4 downs. Episode. We're gonna have a whole separate episode. But 4 downs, I'm going to read my 4 statements to Taylor. Taylor's going to read his 4 to me. We're going to rank them from what we think will happen to what won't happen, and what won't happen will happen, as long as they're in coherent order. No one cares. I'll go first. I think it's a good one to. The theme of this is there's no theme. All right, moving along. Down number 1, Justin Jefferson eclipses Calvin Johnson's 2012 receiving record. Jefferson, as of this moment, has 1,623 yards. Calvin Johnson's record is 1,964. That would be a stark 341 yards in the last 3 games. Down number 2. The Texans beat the Titans, but Derrick Henry rushes for 225 yards. Down number 3. The Steelers beat the Raiders by 10 or more. Not exactly 10. Down number 4. Gardner Minshew throws for 250 plus 3 touchdowns versus Dallas.
250 and what?
250 and 3 touchdowns.
Okay. And then Texans beat Titans, but Henry has what?
225 yards.
Okay.
A few moments later.
There's a lot going on here. I gotta write it all down.
Okay. Continue.
All right. Let's see. I will go. Damn, 225 yards. That's a lot. I like the Texans to beat the Titans. That's actually one of my 4 downs as well. But 225 yards is a lot. Granted, the Texans give up a lot of running yards.
Do you want me to help you out? Because I was hoping you would immediately go for the stat, and you didn't.
Go for
Derrick
go ahead.
Henry's last 4 games against the Texans: 221, 250, 213, 219 rush yards, 7 touchdowns.
Damn.
Yeah, you flash back to week 3. You don't remember. We'll go all the way back there. And I said, this is something where Derrick Henry just doesn't not succeed.
Mm.
Well, 219 yards later, and 2 touchdowns.
I mean, especially with Malik Willis, that is their offense, is Henry.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
I'll take that as my most likely, followed by Minshew throwing for 250 and 3 touchdowns, followed by followed by Justin Jefferson eclipsing CJ's single year yardage amount, receiving yards, and then Steelers beat the Ravens by 10 or more as my least likely.
Okay. I don't hate that at all. Justin Jefferson, I think, has a solid chance. They play the Giants. I don't know who the other
Pats
two
this week.
Giants, Pats. Wait, they play the Pats
This week,
again? The Vikings.
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Justin Jefferson. No. Although I knew what I was saying when I put him where I did, I was thinking Jamar Chase for some reason.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I don't know who else the Giants, and I don't remember who else they face for the
I'm
rest of the
pulling
year.
it up. So yeah, Giants this week, Packers, and then Bears. So yeah,
There's a chance there, yeah. Yeah, don't hate that at all. Obviously, Texans being the Titans, I really like that one. All right, you're 4.
my 4. I also didn't end up going with the theme, which I usually do. Chiefs finish as the number 1 seed in the AFC. Evan Ingram finishes as the number 2 tight end on the season, which we kind of already talked about this. Titans lose to the Texans this week, and DK Metcalf is the number 1 wide receiver this week versus Kansas City, which I like a heck of a lot more if Marquise Goodwin does not play.
So I'm going to try and find this real quick because I think this is it. No, of course it's not. That's all right. Is it still up on my phone? Probably not. So you said Metcalf is the wide receiver 1?
This week versus Kansas City.
Okay. Ingram ends up being the 2 on the year.
Mm-hmm.
The Texans beat the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was the 4th one?
Chiefs finish as the number 1 seed
Number 1
in the AFC.
So Ingram is 16 fantasy points behind Hawkinson, and Andrews is number 3. So it's 2 and 3 are tied right now. Hawkinson and Andrews. The Chiefs is the number 1 seed.
I can read who the Chiefs have left and who the Bills have left. The Bills finish with this week they play the Bears, then the Bengals, then the Patriots, and the Chiefs have the Seattle this week, Broncos next week, and finish with the Raiders.
Do the Bills lose to the Bengals? Because that's the only chance.
Right.
All right, so my most likely, down number 1 for me, ranking them from most likely to least likely. Down number 1. Oh, wow, that's so tough. Down number 1 is Texans beat the Titans. I'm more sure of that than any of the other 3. I really am. Down number 2, Evan Ingram is the tight end 2 on the year. Down number 3, Chiefs are first in the AFC. Down number 4, Metcalf is wide receiver 1.
Yeah. Yeah, the Metcalf one is definitely the one I like the least, but there's a chance.
Oh, there's always a chance. I mean,
Yeah.
his ceiling is huge in this game.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest about it. But man, that's when you only have one person to take out. Like your options are, you can double team him at that point, and you can kind of make Gino throw to somebody else.
Yeah.
That's rough. That's rough for them. I mean, they need all those pieces to take on the Chiefs, to be honest. They really do.
Hmm.
Honestly, the only other one who's sneaky, actually two other ones who are sneakies, Noah Fant and Will Dissly. And I think you're going to see a good chunk of 2 tight end sets if Goodwin's out. I think you're going to see 2 tight end, maybe 2 wide receiver and running back, or maybe even dual back and 2 tight end, and then you're going to let Metcalf float in his own, which spawn a couple, maybe even some bootlegs or some play action there. But
Yeah.
I have to switch up something to bring alive this. You only got one wide receiver who can go up and get it.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. Another healthy game of 4 downs. Feel free to use that at your next party, especially if it's Christmas party. We only got a couple minutes left, so I think we're going to take our first break here. I think it's a good idea that we break here. And when we come back, we're going to go through the Week 16 preview. We'll jump head first into it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's actually 6 games to go through. We'll hit the express lane for the rest of the games for the teams and the games that aren't as interesting or meaningful. Give you our 5 fantasy flyers, and then it is the Christmas special fantasy flyer season of giving before we sign off for the evening. Taylor, would you please sign us off?
Who told you you can eat my cookies?
Nice. Great Christmas movie. We will see you all on the other side. There it is.
Yeah, there it is. Welcome to part 2. I didn't feel like doing it today. So do it, and y'all can have that Donnie from the Wild Thornberries going. We're gonna jump right into part 2 with our Week 16 preview. We'll start off with I guess it's a little less interesting now, which is the sad part. Doesn't really matter what happens here, though. Both teams are in the playoffs. It's the Eagles and the Cowboys. 13-1 Eagles at the 10-4 Dallas Cowboys. Dallas 4.5-point favorites, over under 47. It is game 1 of our host v host. I don't have any audio for that, so it's very sad that I don't. Actually, wait. Yes, I do. Hold on. It wasn't working before, and now I know it's gonna, and here's how I know it's gonna, because it finished downloading.
Round 1. Fight!
There we go. I had to get the update. It was just an update for the app. So there we go. Round 1 of host v host. So Gardner, almost just said Garden Minshew. Gardner Minshew will start. This man is all muscle, all mustache, somewhat football. It's a smart move for the Eagles. Don't press Jalen Hurts. I think we talked about it on Wednesday. Why would you risk a good chunk of your offseason to throw him out there? He didn't practice. Came midday yesterday, Thursday. And they said, yeah, we're gonna sit him out. And it's smart. Cowboys have a lot to avenge. Last week, losing to the Jaguars, the first meeting between these two teams where they got beat 26-17. Zeke is normally very good against Philly. He's my start. I'm starting him. I said I would start him, and I'm going to. Dallas and Philly are 1-2 in scoring over the last 3 games. They're first and second team over the last 3 games. I believe Dallas is 37.5 points, and Philadelphia's like 36. So 36.5, something in that line. Start Zeke. I like this offensive line for the Eagles. I don't know if Minshew is going to be he can't be as spry as Jalen Hurts. He can still motor a little bit, but I don't like it. If Dallas starts to, it's going to be the thing with the first matchup when Jalen Hurts got into this, he didn't throw the ball a lot, but he evaded trouble, and he kept drives going because he evaded trouble. So drives would go and keep going, and they couldn't, if it never got to 2nd and 15 or 2nd and 18 because of a sack, it makes it a lot easier for the drive to continue, and they end up scoring a lot. I don't think Minshew has that same luck. I think Dallas is going to get to him a little bit, definitely more than Hurts, and I don't like Minshew for that reason. I don't know if this team. I don't know how that's directly going to correlate to Goddard or to. Welcome back, Dallas Goddard, by the way. To Goddard, to Devontae Smith, to AJ Brown. Trayvon Diggs will probably be on Brown again. That didn't really work out the first time. Don't know if it'll work any better here. Devontae Smith had the better matchup in the first game as well, though. So, and the second cornerback for Dallas is Mackenzie Alexander. Did I say that right? They signed him 2 weeks ago. They called him up. Calvin Joseph officially lost his spot as a starting cornerback, and it was up between like 3 people. And I think he's supposed to he's supposed to at least see the field. So a little bit of a different secondary we will see for Dallas. But of course, the Eagles. Any word? Did you see anything if CJ Gardner-Johnson was back for the Eagles? I saw where he was going to come off IR, and then I didn't see anything, and he had like a ruptured kidney, spleen, face, soul. I don't know.
It does not say specifically that he is coming off.
Okay.
So it looks like he's still in that like 21-day window where they can evaluate him.
Fair enough. I don't know how to take this game. Let me pull out the magic book here. And what did I do with the pen? There it is. What are your thoughts on this game while I get ready to write some scores down?
Obviously, to your point, having Hurts not there makes a huge difference for the Eagles. They still have a lot of talented pieces, and we've seen Minshew be successful. So I don't think that it's going to be a complete flop for the Eagles. I think that they, hopefully they didn't shoot themselves in the foot and not prepare Minshew the way they should have. But I don't see how that would be the case since Hurts sat out the entire week. So he should have been practicing with the ones. It's not like they did anything to prepare Hurts to play this week. So I don't see that being the case. I think Minshew should be fine. Granted, he has not played all season, and I don't remember the last time he played last season. So he may be a little rusty. Dallas is a good defense. I think it's going to be
better than they were last week.
What's that?
They need to be better than they were last week.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, whether that was some underestimating, playing down to the other team's level, I don't see how you underestimate the Eagles even with Minshew playing. So hopefully that's not the case, and it will be a good game. I think it's going to be pretty close.
I have it very close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dallas 27 to Eagles 26.
Oh, okay. I realize now that I say that I think it's going to be pretty close. I did not have a close score, and I don't remember why I did that.
Well, I mean, go ahead.
I think that the Eagles have a real chance here. But obviously Minshew starting and not having played for a while is a concern. He's obviously not Jalen Hurts. He was a starter, right, for Jacksonville, but they didn't have a lot of other options, so he's not quote unquote a starter. I'm going to stick with my score here. I don't have it as close as I thought I did. I have the Eagles 18, Cowboys 28. I think that without Hurts's dynamic playmaking ability and the added sort of rushing aspect that he brings to the game, it makes things a little bit flatter. I mean, they still have capable running back. They still have the wide receivers. So it's not like it's only one or the other, but they've lost that rushing ability from the QB, which is a huge upside.
Yeah, I gotta like Miles Sanders with that. Like Dallas is not a great rush defense. For all of the pressure they put on a quarterback, they don't really stop 5 and 6 yard gains from running backs as much as you would think they would.
Yeah.
They can obviously clog it up when they know it's coming, but you know, Sanders is a good enough running back where I think he's going to have a solid chunk of yards. Will he get phased out of the game plan? Very possible. Given the, if they get down early or whatever have you. This is set up for Gardner surprising the Cowboys, though. This is a Cowboys team that could apparently get surprised very easily. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles lead at halftime and if Dallas ends up locking down in the second half. Because the thing about this is that Jalen Hurts being multidimensional dual threat is you can change the game plan and he'll work with it. Gardner Minshew is not going to be the same way.
Mhm.
You can still change it, but it's going to be less severe changes that Dallas will be able to pick up. Dan Quinn will be able to pick up on fairly quickly, I would think. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them lead at halftime, like, I don't know, 16-13, 16-10, 13-7, 13-10, something like that. So
Yeah, I think the reason I ended up with the score I did, because I do think it's going to be a good game, is Minshew likes to chuck the ball. That may turn into the Cowboys making a big play, which may turn to, another opportunity that the Cowboys wouldn't have had, therefore leading to a bit of a larger gap in the score. But if Minshew doesn't throw an interception, if Cowboys don't come up big on some plays, then yeah, this could be a very close game.
it's also important to note Dak can't turn the ball over.
Right.
He has the league.
He had
has
2
the
interceptions last game.
He has the most interceptions in 5 weeks. He has
Really?
9 in the last 5 weeks. No one else has more than 5 in the NFL.
Jeez.
So that has to stop. You can't be a true contender when you give the other team 2-3 extra chances a game.
Yeah.
It's just,
And I know I gave the Cowboys a lot of points here, but the Eagles are not obviously any sort of pushover when it comes to defense. So
right. Next game, Giants at the Vikings. Minnesota 4-point favorites, over under 49.5. Minnesota's in the playoffs. I don't know, in my mind, and again, my opinion here, absolutely no facts or anything to base this off of, no statements from anybody. This should be a structure game if I'm Minnesota. Structure your team. Get in the mindset of the playoffs. You can't be touched. Let things happen. Play the game. But you have a real opportunity to play pressure, and especially against a game management team. The importance of game management while being, I guess, aggressive in the playoffs can make you very, very tough. The Giants on the other side will have to be aggressive here because they have to win to continue to join the NFC playoff picture. It is a tough race over there. Daniel Jones has the lowest interception percentage in the league. Not surprising, I don't think, because he's a game manager. Minnesota's allowing 141 rush yards per game since week 12. I like Jones in this matchup. There's some deep ball threat going on here. It'd be a good time for him to air a couple out, get up some yards. I'm taking 210 in the air, over 210 in the air, and over 50 on the ground. He'll probably have a touchdown in each. Wouldn't be surprised still to see an interception because it's, it happens. But keeping Barkley should be able to run. Jones should be able to move the ball both in the air and on the ground. I like Darius Slayton a lot more this week because of the deep ball threat. We know that Minnesota is not exactly wonderful against wide receivers. Wide receiver spot is iffy, but Hodgins, again, you're probably not looking much for the Flyers as much as you were to get to the playoffs. Maybe you are, but I would say the majority of rosters at this point have solidified themselves with somebody in that mid-tier wide receiver range, and it probably isn't Slayton or Hodgins. Hodgins, yes, I did say that right. So yeah, either one, okay. I wouldn't go ham on it. Dalvin Cook, sure, fire them up. Giants are like 23rd against the rush. You're not going to sit Hawkinson or Jefferson.
Right.
Cousins will be the only other piece in that seems super interesting to me. Dallas wise, not Dallas, wrong game. New York Giants wise, those are really the only pieces. Bellinger, he's been 50-50. I mean, it's only been 2 games since he's been back, but he's been like 50-50 for like what we saw him growing to before he left with the eye injury. So I'm shaky on him, but again, this should be a game where Daniel Jones should throw it a little bit more. I say that, and every time that is an opportunity, they don't. So, I think 4 points is actually, I think this could be another close game, because it means something more to the Giants than it does to Minnesota. But Minnesota has a lot to hold themselves to, another standard to hold themselves to. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Giants win this one. But I like Minnesota too because they're tough. So this is a tough one for me. Any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Vikings should, I won't say run away with this game, but I don't see how they lose this. That being said, they have shown that they can disappoint and have come very close to losing some games and have lost games that they shouldn't have lost. So
Right.
they, yeah, it's a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde situation. They obviously are more talented on paper, but the Giants are a decent defense. And if they can make things happen on offense, the defense can hopefully keep winning the game. I could see this being closer than I think Vegas expects. I mean, a 4-point spread isn't really that big. But honestly, I feel like the Vikings should have a larger spread and they should be able to win this handily. To your point about Bellinger, I think he needs to get more involved. It's a little funky that, and I don't know whether the injury has anything to do with it, but he's been back for 3 games now since week 13. He's had a 97% snap share, 61, 98. He's had 5 targets, 3 targets, 4 targets. He's just, they're not quality targets, I guess. So I think they need to get him more involved, especially in the red zone. Because beyond him and Slayton and Barkley, they got nothing. Richie James is
He goes, that's it. He's shown sparks too.
Yeah.
But he also has more fumbles than anyone else. The team has a league low 14 fumbles. 3 of those are Richie James. So,
Well, there it is.
Yeah, that's the whole root of the problem. Next game, Bengals at the Patriots. Cincinnati 3-point favorites in New England. Over under 41.5. And this is round 2.
It's time to do.
Opposed to host. I switched it back up on you. Ha ha ha. Cincinnati win. I believe that locks them in the playoffs. I didn't look up the scenarios actually. This one, which is the other, the playoff scenarios for this week. And I'm actually going to do that right now because I'm pretty sure this locks them in if I heard that correctly.
The Bengals, they've already clinched.
They're in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Clinched AFC. No, they have not.
That's what I have here.
Cincinnati clinches a playoff berth with a Cincinnati win or a Jets loss. Oh yeah, Jets loss. Okay, you're right. Jets loss.
Yeah.
So you're right. That's why this hasn't updated. Why didn't you? Whatever. All right, good for them. All right, so now we have 3 teams in the AFC that are clinched. We'll talk about the others as we go along because there's really actually just to touch on because the Giants we just talked about. A Giants win and a Washington, Seattle, Detroit, any of the 2 of those teams lose, Giants will be in the playoffs. So this is an important game for them actually because they play Indianapolis and then Philly. They can't get to week 18 without being in there. Back to the Bengals and the Patriots though. So Cincinnati, now locked in the playoffs. Good for them. I don't think they slow down at all. This seems to be the point of the year where they pick up momentum. New England, however, has a little bit more to lose, I would imagine, because they are now 8th in the AFC playoff picture, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yeah, they are. They're on the bubble.
well, the problem is the other teams in the bubble are very, very. They're looking very good. Chargers. I mean, the Dolphins can lose all they want. They'll still look good. Where's the rest of my notes? There it is. If Ramondre plays, is he trustworthy to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Very blank answer there. Love it. He's been the motor for the team for literally like, I want to say I put it in the notes like the last 7 weeks, and it feels that way. Like if he does well, the team's close or the team wins. If he doesn't do well, nothing goes right. And that's not good. We know how one person carrying the team is such a downfall.
Yeah.
It's a boomer bust type of play there. Yeah, they are currently 8th in the AFC playoff picture. Dolphins, Chargers, both 8 and 6. Ravens at 9 and 5. Those are the 3 wild card teams that the Patriots will be playing for. One of those spots, I should say. But anyway, I don't necessarily. I think that's going to be the focus for the Bengals, would be to stop up Ramondre Stevenson. He has been. I mean, he had 172 yards last week on the ground. You can't let him do that to you and expect to hold really a muted offense. This offense doesn't move when you don't move Ramondre. I don't. It doesn't, and especially you're going to have there's no Devontae Parker. You have Thornton and Myers, who are also questionable. I mean, if you're missing any one of those 3 pieces, I mean, obviously if Ramondre's out, Damian Harris, it's a little, I wouldn't say easier, but you should have a little more success holding him in certain reins. He's not as much of a dump truck as Ramondre can be.
Yeah.
But,
Not as involved in the passing game either.
right. The focal point of Cincinnati's defense should be Ramondre, and then let because Mac Jones hasn't shown his arm has been very effective. He's 13 for 31 against a Raiders team last week. Not even as strong of a defense as the Cincinnati Bengals have here. So New England's only been giving up 6.7 second half points per game in their last 3 games. That includes the extreme blowout conditions that we had, or not blowout conditions, the turnaround that we had from the Raiders last week. Cincinnati's only allowed 19 points per game over the last 3. They are allowing 4 yards per rush attempt, 8th in the league. No Parker would necessarily mean that Aguilar jumps up to the wide receiver 2. I was between Bourne and Aguilar here.
I think it's Aguilar.
I'm going to go with Aguilar as my start here. Jacoby Myers is very sneaky here, but again, wide receiver 1. I don't like Jamar Chase. If there's one thing we know about Bill Belichick, he's going to take away your best weapon and make you beat him another way. So it's either Chase or Mixon, but I feel like the team naturally has more of a run defense. I feel like this is something where you have to throw Josh Hoosh and Judon and God. You have to tell all of them you have to put as much pressure on Joe Burrow as you can, and then you have to take the any side of the field that is Jamar Chase's presence, and you have to make them not double him, but keep him in close tabs. This should be more of a Higgins and Boyd game. There's no Hayden Hurst for this game, so we're back to Mitchell Wilcox, which feels like you're eating the fake Skittles from the dollar store, but it's all right.
Yeah.
I will take Cincinnati in this game. I just don't know what score. So go ahead and chat while I look at the scores.
Yeah. I like Wilcox for a sneaky touchdown. Not much more than that, but tight end is
you like Trent Irwin. That's who you like.
tight end is if there
It's
is a weak
Pats.
spot, it's the weak spot for the Pats. I mean, Higgins, if they lock down Jamar Chase, which unfortunately, I don't think like they'll do their best to lock him down. He's still going to have a serviceable game, a good game. Like
Yeah.
play
Lock
Chase.
down
Don't
stuff.
not play Chase, but they're going to do their best to lock him down, and Higgins is still going to have an okay game or a decent game. Like both these receivers are very good. Burrow's a good quarterback. There's not a heck of a lot that any team can really do to shut both of them out. So I have Pats losing this, and maybe me picking the Bengals will be a good thing, and the Pats will surprise. But I have Bengals 22, Pats 16.
Bengals 22, Pats 16. This game, is that right? What is, see, we're going to talk about this a little later when we get to part 2 of this, but the weather in Foxborough, I don't know if you noticed this. But
That's a
over
fair
on
point. I mean,
it
it's
is going to be 22 degrees, a high temperature, and this game is set to be played at 4 or 1. Do I have this right or wrong?
it is set to be played at
Either
yes,
way,
1.
1. So there will be a 13 degree, excuse me. Let's try doing meteorology correct. There will be a 13 to 16 mile an hour wind at an 18-degree temperature, which means your wind chill will be in the single digits. This game is going under.
You know what? That is a good point, and something that will come up later in the show.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, 41.5. I actually really like the under in this game,
I
especially given the 2 defenses. This
yeah.
could be I'm still gonna go Cincinnati, but I'm gonna go a little less than that. I'm gonna go Cincinnati 17, Pats 13.
Good on you. Good on you. I completely spaced looking at the weather when I did not pay attention to the fact that it was home
It's
and
gonna come up in a lot of these. So I'll spoiler alert a lot of the rest of these. When we get to the express lane, there are a lot of games that are under 40 as they're over under, and it is because they're in Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland, Chicago. I don't really know why San Francisco, the game in San Francisco is under 40. That's not necessary, but is it that cold over there too? Am I missing something?
not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, and then the Packers Dolphins game in Miami has an over under of 50 for Sunday night. Whatever. Yeah, last chance. Fixture score now.
Ooh. All right.
Lock it up. We about to lock it up.
All right. Since you're giving me the opportunity, I'm gonna go. It also makes me feel more like the Pats might come away with the win, but
They will
I'm
be
gonna
more used to it.
yeah. I'll go 17-14 Bengals.
Almost the same score.
Would you have 13, 16?
17-13.
17-13?
It's okay. Honestly, they're really good. And you have a very valid point here because Patriots have a little bit more experience in that type of weather. Next game, Lions at the Panthers. Detroit, 2.5-point favorites, over under 43.5. Detroit is still on this remarkable tear to make it into the playoffs, just to lose in like the first or second round to either the Eagles or the Vikings or the somebody, probably the 49ers. Because I mean they will have to play one of those 3 teams. Like that's it. So what do you like? Making the playoffs is good for Dan Campbell. It's good for Jared Goff. It's good for Amon-Ra. All the, it's a step forward. It's a confidence booster to come back. It's all those fun things. The truth is inevitable. You're not a Super Bowl team. Sorry, Detroit fans. Doesn't mean you're not. It honestly just means you're not far off though. Especially given the way the defense has played the last 3-4 weeks. It's kind of been a little sneaky in times, but since like week 10, week 11, they have slowly turned up the wick on defense. It's Panthers and Lions is a battle of a solid defense versus a good offense and a mediocre offense versus a weak pass defense. Not a weak rush defense. There's a difference. It's been sharp against the run. Detroit's defense has been sharp to the run over the last month. Best in the league. You ever thought I'd say that?
No.
Less than 60 yards per game, 55.4 yards per game over the last 3 games on the ground. It makes me hesitant on Chuba Hubbard or Foreman, especially if Detroit takes the lead, because they are still a very good offense. They still have ways to move the ball. And if you get down, you're not running the ball either. Detroit 6.7 third down conversions over the last 3 games. 3.3 touchdowns per game, 17.7 passing first downs per game, all increases of 5 to 12%. And the opponent completion percentage is down from 64% to 61.8%. Everything about this team is better now than it was week 8 or 9. And that's interesting. It's because they've had the same pieces, other than like they traded Hawkinson away and they got better. It's interesting. Anyway, I like DJ Chark in this one. Obviously, you start Amon-Ra St. Brown. The running backs still don't make me enthused about anything. I would rather honestly, I'm almost to the point where I want to take a flyer because I have no idea who is going to be RB1 this week out of the 2. There's no consistency. There's no, the hot pocket that DeAndre Swift ate before the game was still a little cold in the middle, so he's going to get 8 less carries this week. And then the next week, Jamal Williams' bubblegum was a little too hard and lost its flavor too quick, so he's going to get less carries this week.
They got to switch to Skittles like Marshawn.
Get it out of here. Sit Hubbard and Foreman. I am going Detroit on. I'm not actually going to put this on blowout alert. I don't like Carolina here because they've been playing well, and that means they won't. Sam Darnold, DJ Moore, Laviska Shenault, maybe. Terrence Marshall, maybe. Shi Smith, he'll make an appearance and do things on a football field with his feet in a uniform. I have Detroit 32, Carolina 15. And that's, I mean, could it be the exact opposite? Maybe, but that'd be really bad for Detroit. Anything else for you from this one? I added this one because, again, Detroit's on this big tear, and the Panthers aren't out of the NFC South. Again, that's basically winning a ribbon as a consolation prize, but still.
Yeah. This one's, I don't want to say it's up in the air because the Lions can put up points. The Panthers are middle of the road defense, so I don't see that changing things too much, especially with the Lions basically, I don't want to say having everybody healthy, but basically everybody's back. I don't know what's up with Swift and his like, hey, I'm going to have a great game, and the next game I'm going to not play for shit. I don't know, like whatever. The Panthers on the other side, like they're playing decently against the Lions offense that allows a lot in the air. DJ Moore's talented. Yeah, I think that, I mean, Vegas is good at what they do. That this over under and spread looks pretty decent to me. I don't know that I have it getting out of hand, but we've seen Sam Darnold flop, so it's possible.
Fair enough. Last game before our final break. We got about 6.5 minutes. Titans, Texans, Tennessee, 3.5 point favorites, over under 35.5. That's about right. Weather regardless. But this is the third and final of
Flawless victory.
our
Finish him.
close to host games. So the Titans, who have been slacking in absolutely every offensive department, now have to depend upon Malik Willis to move this offense. In his previous outings this year were smelly as gym socks. Not good. One thing he has to his advantage, we talked about this with Strevler. It's kind of the same for Malik Willis. They do not have a lot of tape on him. The element of surprise. Do something different. Don't do what you did last time because they don't have any book for it. Limited exposures is your friend. Switch up play styles. Make the playbook should be shaken up a bit. Do something different. Keep the team in it because other than Derrick Henry, you can't. Like, this is almost a one-dimensional offense that the Texans have to recognize. Houston has a real shot here if they can bottle them up. Let's be honest. Have they done that? No, not at all. Not even close. They actually put out a red carpet for him last time. You should go back and watch the game. But if, like I said, between then and now, this team's done better. They kept up with the Cowboys. They forced an overtime game with the Chiefs. Why can't you hold Derrick Henry? What are you going to do different? So start Henry because you don't. If you're gonna pick some, I guess Chris Moore. I don't know if any of the Texans wide receivers make me feel good about anything in life. Like, I don't know. I'm sitting absolutely. I don't want any part of this game other than the fact that it's host v host and it could be close. I'm gonna go with the upset. I said it earlier. I like Houston in this game, and I'm sticking to it. I have Houston 23, Tennessee 19. That's where I'm sticking with it.
Well, shit. I have Houston 23, Titans 16.
All right. So you also like Houston. Get
I
that
do.
second win of the year.
Yeah, right.
Some brownie points for that one. We got a couple minutes. Let's go over the last game and before we hit the express lane in part 3. Seahawks and Chiefs. Chiefs are 10-point favorites at home. Over unders 49.5. I think that's about right, unfortunately, because of all the missing pieces that Seattle has. There's no Tyler Lockett. There's several questionable players. I think one of the medical guys is questionable. The bus driver bringing them from the hotel to the stadium, he's also questionable. Surprisingly, everybody who was defense is doubtful. Seattle, we keep saying they can't afford to lose these games. And they were doing so well on the other side of this Russell Wilson thing. And they were like, oh, they're doing so well with Gino. And now they're just going to lose like 3 straight and fall out of the playoffs. And it's so sad because they really would have stuck it to Russell and Denver if they had done that. Mahomes' magic is in full force. But again, I don't know how serious they take any of these games. They know what they have to do in the playoffs. They've done it like the last 3 years. They just go until the AFC Championship game. So I don't know how if it gets to blowout status, Mahomes ain't going to play.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to sit, I would imagine. I don't know why you would throw him out there just to risk him getting hurt. You've locked the playoffs in. Unless you see a wide open door for the first round bye. I don't, maybe that's just me. I don't know. Jerick McKinnon, small chit chat about him. RB3 in PPR format since week 12. He has been in a monster tear. The Seahawks defense is bad versus running backs, especially in the passing game. Lock and load in this game. Isaiah Pacheco, of course, go ahead, go to town. You're going to start Travis Kelce because if you don't, why are you playing fantasy football? MVS, okay. Juju, sure. Yeah. No hate for it. With no McCole Hardman coming back, something tells me one of those two will be your best option out of this game for the Chiefs. I have Metcalf. If Goodwin plays, start him. Metcalf should be a lock and load. He is the best wide receiver that you can possibly get on this slate for upside as far as hitting a ceiling. There's going to be targets galore. I don't like Walker. If there's anything I've mentioned about the Chiefs 17 times, they're really good against the run. So Walker can do some pass game. I guess that will be his saving grace, would be falling in the end zone or one of those passes. I actually have Kansas City only winning 26-22. If blowout comes into potential, it'll be more like 30-20, I guess, or 32-20. But I don't know. I don't see that. Gino's still very accurate as a quarterback. So I still think it's going to come down to them just stopping drives, not creating turnovers. So that's my opinion on that. Anything from you on this one?
No, I think you made a lot of good points there. Both teams letting up a lot of, not necessarily air yards, but completions. So Yeah, any of the wide receiving options should be pretty solid. Seahawks just horrid on defense all around.
For the most part. They had
Yeah.
a few really good weeks in there, but
Yeah, no, McKinnon definitely. I'm against him in my only playoff matchup, and I'm very nervous. So hopefully
be.
he doesn't go crazy, but I don't see why he wouldn't.
yeah, unfortunately. So that's going to end our in-depth kind of games. We will come back for part 3 and go through the express lane before we touch on the Fantasy Flyer Christmas special, the actual special itself, the juice, the meat and potatoes, all of the show. Real quick, I haven't touched on this. Since we started Wednesday's show, we got all the way to this point, the end of segment 2 on Friday's show. So I will touch on this. I won our 5 fantasy flyers last week by 3 points. Thank you, Isaiah Hodgins.
Snap! I thought I had it.
Marlon Mack. How are you going to hit Marlon Mack? He had a touchdown, 37 on the ground, 4 catches and 26. Rock solid. Golden. But I'm winning 194 to 180. So I just want to do, now that we have all 3 games put in, 5 fantasy flyers, Christmas special coming up. Taylor, sign us off. We're going to go to part 3. I'm going to get something to drink and go to the bathroom. I'll see you in a minute. Do it, Taylor. Do it right now.
We'll
right
see
now.
you on the
Do
flip.
it. You waited too long. Better drink my own piss. It's lemonade. Welcome back to part 3 of the Fantasy Flyer. If you like jokes, congratulations. That was a very bad one. Real quick, as we just finished up our 6 games that we went in depth on. We are now going to go through the not as important ones. If you're fans of this team, still watch your team. Support your team. Go buy a terrible towel. Go put on some silver face paint if you're a Raiders fan. Maybe cry a little bit if you're a Chicago fan, but be happy because you have a really good quarterback. It's the express lane. We're not going to go in depth of these at all. They should be maybe not open shut. And, if something amazing happens in these games, like it happened with the Colts and Vikings last week, who could forget that comeback? Matt Ryan tries. Matt Ryan does not succeed. These are games that we're not going to go into because we think the results should be pretty straightforward, and or both of the teams are not in playoff contention, and it's not as important. First game, Bills at the Bears. Buffalo, 8.5-point favorites, over under 40.5. This is another game where it's going to be a wee bit chilly. Real quick, just because I'm super interested in the weather over the weekend. Let's check out what the weather is in Chicago. Oh, nice and toasty, 0 degrees right now. And tomorrow you're going to have a high of 13. Swimming. It's going to be a scorcher out there. So put on the sunscreen. Bears bad against the run. Bills good against just about everything. Start Singletary or Cook. If you're kind of, maybe. Game script might allow them to do something. I would kind of lean more towards Cook. I think he's been a little bit more used in both run and pass game. Not a fan of Montgomery and Herbert. Bill is still the 6th best rush defense. They allow less than 3.7 yards per carry. Justin Fields should also, however, have a very good game as a quarterback. I think he'll still stick in that 150 to 200 passing yards, but I think he's still going to rush for 75 to 100. He'll be okay. Next game, Browns and Saints in Cleveland. Cleveland 3-point favorites at home. Over under 32. You'll never guess why. That's right. Both offenses are bad. And the weather. Yeah, the weather's also not. Saints have been against most points of an offense. I don't know. More rush, I think, than pass. There's no Olave in this game. Jarvis Landry went to IR. That means your number 1 wide receiver for this game is Traquan Smith. Maybe. That's a smelly porta potty if I've ever seen one.
Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah, actually, that's a good flyer. Has a good flyer option right there. You saw his deep ball usage has been pretty good. He's a very, very light. He's a diet Chris Olave light, if that makes any sense. Um, Browns 30th against the run all of a sudden. What happened? They stopped. And it's everything else about them. I like Nick Chubb in this. Should have a I would say he's going to go back over 100. I would think. Deshaun Watson, another step forward. Cleveland is somehow still, well, not somehow, they're mathematically involved in the playoffs. But I think it mostly comes down to the Chargers and what other team is in this playoff that I'm not looking at currently? Chargers and the Dolphins and the Ravens losing. So that's not going to happen. So Chargers are 8-6, Dolphins are 8-6, Browns are 6-8. So I think if both of those teams win, it's over for the Browns. Gonna be a lot of teams are gonna be crossing off. Start Kamara, due for a bounce back game. RB 38 since week 10, but this is an upside spot. Again, Browns not good against running backs. And of course, his pass catching helps. Not a fan of DPJ in this one. I think you have a better chance with Cooper over DPJ, especially if it's going to be a low scoring game. Cooper should be a little bit more friendly. Falcons at Ravens next. Baltimore 6.5 point over under is at 34.5. Ravens are good versus wide receivers. Excuse me. Let's try that again. Wide receivers are good versus the Ravens. The Ravens are good versus running backs. The Falcons run the ball. The problem is the Falcons allow good passing yards and Tyler Huntley doesn't pass. So this could be a very, very, very boring game. Because everything that your team is good at, the other team is good at defending, and everything you're bad at, the other team is bad at defending. So I don't know exactly how this game is going to play out, just to be perfectly honest. Over under at 34.5, the wettest of socks. Like just the worst. Like imagine getting your jean belt loop caught on a door handle, but just like over and over
That's the
and
worst.
over and over and over again. Or imagine putting mustard on your hot dog, but the entire bottle of mustard is that annoying water and not mustard.
For me, it's so I'm visiting my sister and I keep stubbing my toe on the bed frame because it is not my bed frame and I am not used to it.
Yeah, there you go. That's what this game is. I have no interest in starting anybody from this game. Desmond Ridder is still the quarterback. Drake London is not going to succeed. If Kyle Pitts was playing, like the best thing that happened for Kyle Pitts is that he left and he doesn't have to deal with Desmond Ridder. It's pretty sad. I guess like dart throw Olamide Zacchaeus, maybe Demir Bird. I don't know. I don't like any of this. I really don't. I want to avoid this game. I'd rather avoid this game. There's really no high profile players. Like I can't even say Mark Andrews is going to have another good game because he hasn't had good games in 10 games. So I don't. Next game, Raiders at the Steelers. Pittsburgh 2-point favorites over under 38. A little interesting there. Kenny Pickett and his group of young whippersnappers versus Devontae Adams and Derek Carr. Pittsburgh is 4th in first downs per play over the last 3 games. Who saw that one coming? Yeah, they're getting first downs fairly quickly. Kenny Pickett only had half to do with that. The rest of it was Mitch Trubisky. Interesting to see how his return can change that. Devontae Adams in an upside spot. Basically, every wide receiver for the Raiders is in an upside spot. My start is Renfro. I don't like Waller because he's not going to do what he did last week. He's actually only done what he did last week once this year, other than last week. Granted, he was out for 5 weeks, but that's it. He hasn't been very good like the first 7 or 8 weeks. So I'm not interested. Next game, Commanders at the 49ers. San Francisco 6.5 point favorites only at home. Over under 37.5. I think it's over under seems like it gives a little too much credit to the Commanders. Like it's still Taylor Heinicke. Like let's calm down. You can sit the running backs for the Commanders. San Francisco number 1 rush defense, number 1 defense in general. If you have any luck with anybody, it might be Jahan Dotson.
Yeah,
I would
that's what I was gonna say.
Terry McLaurin would probably be your lock him up number 1. I'm putting Jimmy Ward on him or Jarvarius Ward or one of the Wards. I don't really have any great starts from this. No Debo wants me to point to Ayuk. The Commanders are mid-pack versus tight ends, so George Kittle, fine. Brock Purdy should be okay here. I don't see that. He's not my favorite flyer of the week in terms of a quarterback streaming option, but 200 to 250, a touchdown. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is probably going to see the bulk of all of the work again, and that's fine. You can let Christian McCaffrey earn his money. Next game, Broncos and Rams. Man, like this is a clogged toilet over a dead body and stench. It's just not good. There's nothing about this. It's just really bad. I don't want any. Imagine buying tickets to this game before the season started, and you're like, yeah, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Jerry Jeudy, Javonte Williams. Let's go. And you get to week 13, and this is what you're dealt.
Yeah.
Who wants their money back now? Denver only 3-point favorites. The over-unders at 36, and I think unlike the rest of the games where the over-under is mostly due to weather, I think this over-under is because these are two atrocious offenses. Denver is a good defense. I still am not going to ever sell their defense short. Their offense just can't convert on a lot of things. I was forced to start Dulcich this week, and I don't feel good about it. So I hope that turns around. Rams, who now you have no Ben Skoranek. So yeah.
Good old Tutu.
That's no.
Van Jefferson.
Like, oh man. There's just nothing about this makes me feel good though. Like
that is my least favorite thing to do.
And all of it. Yeah, Jerry Jeudy, I think, is the only trustworthy piece from this. He's going to get 6 to 9 targets. Is Russell back? Do we know? He hasn't been.
Yeah, he was not on the injury report.
So he is playing. That makes me like the Broncos a lot more than 3 points in this game because the last game against the Chiefs, he put up 28, threw for 250, had 3 touchdowns. It's good. Damn. Well, yeah. Judy, it makes me feel a little better about Dulcich. Anyway, next game, Buccaneers at Cardinals. This is one of the Sunday games. What's the other one? Well, besides there's Packers, Dolphins, Bucks, Cardinals. Is it
the Chargers Colts? I think
that's Monday.
Oh, it is the Broncos Rams. The one we just talked about.
It is. Okay, so all 3 games on Sunday. They just wanted to ruin roughly 350 families' Christmases. Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure. Buccaneers, Cardinals, Tampa Bay, 7.5-point favorites in Arizona. The forgotten McDonald's character, Trace McSorley, will start for, I didn't forget. If you watch the video, I also did something super fun when I talked about that. You should just check out like the last 10 minutes of that video because it's really fun. Over under 40.5. The Bucks are getting down to crunch time on losing games because eventually somebody's going to win, or maybe they'll just lose their way into the playoffs. Like, have you ever known that? Like they've locked up a playoff spot by just literally losing all of the games because everyone loses the game. Well, they can't do that because I forget the next 2 games are Carolina and Atlanta. So, yeah, don't do that. Yeah, it's so bad. Cardinals are just not good, and Trace McSorley doesn't make me believe anymore in that. Tampa Bay is scoring negative 0.19 points per play over the last 3 games. So, they were negative 0.07 points per play. So they were better at not scoring than they were at scoring, and now they're even better at not scoring than they were at scoring. It is negative 0.266 points per game. Or points per play, excuse me. So downtrend in offense. That's not how it's supposed to be. Not how it's supposed to be at all. However, Cardinals bad against tight ends. It's you hit your bingo card for that one. Start K. Dotton. Is Cameron Brate playing? Didn't see him on the injury report.
Correct, not on the injury report.
All right. Well, that kind of clouds things a little bit. Take your shot at him if you have to. That doesn't make me man. That's a perfectly good opportunity for a good tight end breakout game. I will take Otten over Bray just for longevity purposes. I'd say. I put sit Marquise Brown, but I believe he's on the questionable and likely may not play sometimes, eventually, probably. Something like
Yeah,
that.
I forget the exact wording. But yeah, he had that midweek injury, so
Yeah,
not ideal.
Yeah, it's probably not. For the way the team's going, stop it. Get some help.
Yeah.
Stop it. Get some help.
Next game, Packers at the Dolphins. Miami 3.5-point favorites at home, over under 50. Highest on the slate. Dolphins can't afford to drop another one. Green Bay has been tricky all season. I think it's a juicy little matchup here. They play well. Green Bay plays well when they need to, and they don't when they should have easier games. Like it's one of those bass backwards teams. Green Bay scoring 8 more points per game than their season average over their last 3 games. They're just straight up scoring more. They're also allowing less rush yards, which this is the second time this year that they've had a 3-game stretch where they've allowed 20 or less rush yards under their season average, which is interesting because that means they can't really pick a. I don't. Maybe it's opponent based. I didn't look at the schedule, so I shouldn't say that. But they're to have 3 other games where they went from 114 to under 95, and then this stretch where they go from 100 and I think 24 down to 102 or something. It's interesting that they ebb and flow like that defensively. Start Dobbs, sit Wilson. That would be Jeff Wilson. Raheem Mostert, not a huge fit. This team doesn't run the ball anyway, and I feel like this is a good game for Tyreek Hill to just be launched in the stratosphere. He is right behind Justin Jefferson, 1,569 yards, I believe, in the wide receiver category. Also a threat to break Calvin Johnson's record. Last game, Monday Night Football, Chargers at the Colts, the blue out night in Indianapolis. If you went to a game and there wasn't enough blue around, now there'll be more. Chargers 4.5-point favorites, over under 45.5. And what a better way to celebrate than putting in Nick Foles. Nick Foles will start. Don't know why. Doesn't make nothing. There's nothing on that staff that is going to fix the problem that you have with Indianapolis. Chargers need to win big here. The good news is I think they have a good shot at it. Trust the usual options. I'm going to start Zach Moss. I think we talked about this on Wednesday when we did the waiver wire game. I will take him over Deion Jackson. I'm sticking with that. Don't like Pittman because it's Nick Foles. He can have good games, and maybe this will be it. I shouldn't really rule him out. I have to start him in our dynasty league because I'm in round 2 in what will be my for sure exiting round of the playoffs because I don't see any way that this goes. I've accepted that. That's fine. But Pittman, if he has 10 fantasy points, okay, good for you. I think it's fine. I got Chargers in that one. I'll take Chargers, Dolphins, Buccaneers, Broncos or Rams. Who cares? 49ers. I'm going to take Steelers. I guess I'll take Ravens over Falcons just because of the difference in offensive quarterback. Browns, and then obviously Bills. So, anything else you want to touch on before we get into the juice? We get into the tender part. We get into the fun stuff. We open up the presents. We slide down the chimney. We eat some cookies. Wrap some stuff in tinsel. We go caroling. We go in a manger. What's going on?
I might go Raiders over Steelers. But beyond that, no. That's all good stuff. All good stuff.
I don't hate that either. Because they're at home and they're 2-point favorites. So it's the only two that you get an instant 2 points if you are in the place where there's more yellow towels flying around. All right. 5 fantasy flyers time. Did you write any?
Oh shit. No, I'm good.
Okay, so there we go. That's great. That's perfect. I'll go first. I think I'm the reigning winner from last week, so I should go first.
I think that's back to back for you.
No, it's not. You won before.
Okay.
No, we've traded off the last 4 weeks, so that's why. But I lead by 14 points. So my first one, I just talked about him. Zach Moss. He is my number one fantasy flyer this week. Number 2, Nelson Aguilar. Also brought him up earlier. No Devontae Parker. Nelson Aguilar was on the field when that happened and was the one who called it. All about the Nelson Aguilar in this one this weekend. Number 3, shaky to be, but he's statistically qualifies. Juwan Johnson. There's going to be plenty of options not there for the Saints. This is going to be a cold game. There should be some short field. Also, let us not forget Andy Dalton has played in a couple of cold climates before. So I have a little faith that Juwan Johnson will have something. Number 4, Byron Pringle. Open the can of the Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop, or something like that. I don't know. No Equinemius St. Brown, no Chase Claypool. I have a cookie coming in because my girlfriend's amazing. So now I'm going to sniff this cookie and tell you my 5th fantasy flyer in just a moment. It's delicious. I already know it is. It's chocolate chip. It's amazing. She makes the best chocolate chip cookies. Thank you. I didn't say that. I literally took it. It was just like, be gone, wench. That was delicious. Sorry. Allie, if you watch this, I'm so sorry. That was rude. So my 5th fantasy, this is kind of tough. Like, I like Slayton a little bit in that matchup. I like DJ Chark. Kansas City is kind of a tough one. I'm not huge on anything out of the Bills Bears because of the temperature. Although both teams should be kind of used to it, other than Byron Pringle, obviously. Just because he's going to see the field more. Man, this is so tough.
It was a rough week for Flyers.
It's just a little. I don't like. All right, I'm gonna jump out on the limb. I'm gonna go out on the limb, like the farthest limb. Not really the farthest. There's worse. There's way worse. Like, I could try and choose some from the Rams. I will go Ray McLeod.
Yeah. Okay.
He has seen between 3 and 5 targets each of the last 3 games under Brock Purdy. I'm kind of hoping one of them falls in the end zone this week, but Ray McLeod it is.
Alrighty.
And it is your turn. I'm going to totally botch spelling McLeod. Your turn for the 5 fantasy flyers.
So in similar fashion, although on the other side of it, instead of Zach Moss, I have Deion Jackson. I did go with Darius Slayton. I have Marquise Goodwin and Hunter Henry. And I had Drake London, but I am going to swap that for Juwan Johnson because I had ruled him out. But if we're walking that line, I'm going to take him because I like that play as well.
Statistically, he is a qualifier for a qualifying flyer. Sorry, I had to eat this delicious cookie right now.
No, I don't blame you at all. Now I want a cookie.
Like Christmas time. It's the Christmas special, so like I feel like
it's very fitting
to a mic, and it's just like worst thing, and I'm so sorry, but yeah, Juwan Johnson is a qualifying flyer. He's not owned. I mean, he's technically above 50%, but it's not. It's a week 50. You know what I mean? Like, it's a week 50. Let's just put it that way. Because no one likes the offense, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Now, he had a 2-touchdown game last week, so I imagine that number will probably be updated to a lot higher now. But again, it's fantasy playoffs, so who really knows? But I like that list. Marquise Goodwin. Do you want your sub if he doesn't play? I mean, you should know in the next. Actually, heck, let's find out. Is that game? Do you know what time that game is tomorrow?
It is. I
Gotta be at
believe
4
it's
o'clock.
one of the early ones. No, it's a 1 o'clock.
Really?
Yeah.
The Chiefs and Seattle's at 1 o'clock.
That is surprising.
Yeah. Oh, Ryan Tannehill underwent surgery. Didn't know that.
Yeah, they had mentioned he might, and it would be season ending, but yeah, looks that way.
It's a long shot, it says. Greg Dortch has been cleared for week 16.
hmm
Just checking my
He almost
sources.
made my list, but then
Well, it's
McDonald's starting.
Hey, I might not have to worry about playing Jeff Wilson because he's questionable. Didn't know that. Aaron Jones.
I mentioned that in the 9.
I didn't. Okay, that's all right. I'm gonna give a small bet that he's not gonna play.
Um,
Godwin
my
Ibuki was called up from the practice squad.
my sub will be the guy I swapped out with Johnson. I'll just go Drake London.
Okay. Nico Collins went to IR. Man, a lot of breaking news. All right, so his swap, Drake London. Hopefully his target share is as large as it was last week. Usual 15 points on the line for that. We're going to get right into the Christmas portion of the show because we're burning through part 3. It's the good time. So there's 2 parts to this Christmas special, the Fantasy Flyer Season of Giving. Part 1, me and Taylor are going to go back and forth with 5 teams who need help this offseason. That's the way I'll label it. Quarterback, coach, key piece, wide receiver, running back. And we're just going to kind of tell you why we think that that's the case. And if you have it, you don't have to. I didn't put this down there, but if you have a potential fit, if you can find one or you have a spot to get one, what the best suit for you is. So do you want to go first? You want to go second?
Sure, I'll kick it off.
All right.
My first team is the Carolina Panthers. They are in need of a QB. Yeah, maybe Darnold has been decent, but he does not appear to be the answer. Jets let him go, and he hasn't proven to be the long-term solution here in Carolina. They made moves because they felt that way. Those moves didn't pan out. Here he is again. Anyways, they are in. I currently have them where I'm looking in the 9th spot for the upcoming draft. So they could potentially get somebody in the 2023 draft, but it's unlikely that they'll get Young, Levis, or Stroud. So McGee or Hendon potentially, but I don't know that they would spend that high of a pick on him. So maybe they will look to the free agent market. They could go after somebody from San Francisco. However that plays out. So I don't know that they'll sign all 3 guys again. Lance, Garoppolo, Purdy. Maybe they get somebody from there. Beyond that, Daniel Jones is set to be a free agent. I've said many times I don't think that he is somebody I want as my long-term QB. He just doesn't have the upside. He doesn't bring that X factor to an offense. Beyond that, Teddy Bridgewater continues to bounce around. He hasn't proven to be somebody that can be the starting quarterback. Brissett, Gino, none of these names are anybody that I'm excited about. Lamar Jackson is set to be a free agent, but I can't imagine the Ravens let him go. I don't see any other big names that I'm super excited about.
I mean,
so,
it's a pretty straightforward list. I mean,
yeah.
I agree with what you're saying. Sam Darnold is, but there's other pieces that need to be filled in.
Yeah.
So that's a start, though. My first one, it's also a quarterback. So I'll say we've beat up on him enough over between Wednesday and today, but I'm going to beat up on him some more. It's the New York Jets. Is Mike White? I guess the real question here is Zach Wilson is not the answer. Is Mike White the answer? You want to say no. The interesting thing here for me is there are a lot of pieces, and you listed off, there are a lot of pieces that would fit with this offense. Imagine a completion percentage like Geno Smith with the young core of Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson. Imagine a little bit more of a, again, with Brees Hall being back next year, we hope. Imagine a little bit more pace of play from Daniel Jones. Not as great of an arm, but the thing we've hated about Daniel Jones this year is he doesn't have the receivers. That's the one thing the Jets have, left and right, all of the receivers. If you can add a new dynamic to that offense, it becomes juggernaut-like when it gets warmed up. I'm interested to see how that plays in, because I want these Jets to succeed. So that's mine. And again, these are in no order, by the way. So my 5, and I'm sure you didn't do it anyway, but these are just 5 that I've picked out. And maybe that's the easiest one to point out, but they're not necessarily in what I would expect them to happen. So you number 2.
My number 2 is Chicago Bears. They are in need of a wide receiver. They have a lot of wide receivers that we've heard, Chase Claypool, Mooney. You mentioned Pringle, Equinini, St. Brown, but nobody of super notable stat numbers. Mooney being probably the most prolific, and I would not say he is an alpha number 1. They need that alpha number 1. Allen Robinson gone, seeming to sort of be tailing off. So they have a high draft pick right now. I think they are estimated to be like number 3, actually maybe number 2. So they could easily get a good wide receiver. That being said, they have other things to fill, so maybe they don't go that high. But let's say they do. They could go for somebody like Quentin Johnston, who's a massive dude, 6'4", 215, could be a very good complementary piece to Mooney, who is a down the field threat.
Makes sense. My number 2, Atlanta, and a quarterback. I don't think I'm beating a drum that's offbeat here. Drake London can't grow with these guys throwing 15 times a game. He's not a let me catch 5 for 40 guy and you'll pay me millions. He's not going to be happy. You're not going to be happy. Kyle Pitts still has some growth to do, and not saying that he's not a good tight end, but you have to learn and continue to learn. And you can't do it with these running quarterbacks. Remove the pressure from the running backs is another thing. Tyler Algier, Huntley, Patterson, all of these guys, they're carrying the offense at times too much, and it's too one-dimensional. Even with the rushing quarterbacks, it doesn't work out. So get a passing quarterback in there. It's going to be interesting to see which way they would be able to go about it. Mariota's obviously not happy he's out. I don't think Ritter, again, room for growth. I don't see him being the long-term answer. I would be very intrigued to see Sam Darnold go there. He's not an amazing quarterback, but he is someone who can throw a little more. You have the rushing, get the passing. So that's my number 2.
Nice. Moving on to Houston Texans. I have them in need of a quarterback. Obviously, Mills has proven to not be the long-term solution. And they are in line for the number 1 pick, which is most likely Bryce Young. We can debate whether maybe Levis Stroud should be number 1, but I have it as Bryce Young going there.
Open shut, right? I got another cookie in case you're curious. But open shut, right? First pick, you're going to get one of the best quarterbacks, whichever one you think will fit your system better. Do it. Davis Mills isn't winning you games. I don't know why you thought Jeff Driscoll would. Maybe you didn't, and you just wanted to have some fun. Who knows? My 3rd, Carolina, but running back. I'm not a fan of the Chuba Hubbard, Dante Foreman. Foreman's a free agent. Hubbard isn't an RB1 caliber. He's a good supplemental back, but I don't see him as being the number 1 in any one of these great offense. If you get another quarterback in there, it's almost to my mind, going off of what you said, wherever you get your quarterback from, go to the opposite for the running back. There are a lot of good free agent running backs. It would be smart with all of the quarterbacks in the draft to go after a quarterback in the draft and pick up a free agent running back. Quarterbacks also have a little bit more room for error, I think, and it's easier for them to pick up exposure than running backs, in my opinion. So you can't replace Christian McCaffrey, but you can regenerate opportunities in other forms, and Hubbard and Foreman are not threatening enough to be consistent enough. There's not enough of a threat there. So the running back for Carolina for me is an important. I would like to see that happen, make Carolina take another step forward.
Yeah, no, but that was another piece I had for their team. I have New York Giants next. We've talked about this so many times. Granted, they've had a lot of injury issues, whether it was Wandale Robinson or the traded away Kadarius Toney. Obviously, guys going on IR, etc. But anyways, New York Giants wide receiver help definitely needed. They also need to re-sign Saquon. He is up for a free agent, but they might be able to snag Jackson Smith and Jigba. I have the Giants somewhere in the range of like the middle, or no, actually, I guess they're all the way down around 22 potentially for a draft pick, but they might be able to snag somebody like that.
Don't hate it. I'm going to go a little bit of a different route for my fourth. Denver, head coach, offensive coordinator. We've seen pieces of Russell Wilson work. We've seen the youth around him be good enough at times, although not at the same time. To a certain extent, and this is not I'm not saying something that we haven't seen in other formats. The way you're using Russell Wilson and the other pieces, no bueno. I don't like the way the offense is moving, and I don't think I'm alone in saying that. Russell Wilson didn't just fall off because he's switched addresses. Something has to be changed, and before we start blaming Russell Wilson or continue to blame Russell Wilson, and we are critical of him because he still has to make some plays, that indicates his good, how good of a quarterback he is. His opportunities are not as well represented as they should be. And so I think he needs to be given those opportunities. Nathaniel Hackett, team isn't really working. It's not the same team as it was last year, and that was with Teddy Bridgewater. So give him an opportunity. Head coach, offensive coordinator. I would go more head coach because they'll make the changes from there. But that's my opinion for my number 4.
Yeah, it's a weird situation that Denver is in with such a honestly young, talented team that just has not panned out for some reason. My last one here, spoiler alert, we have overlap, the Indianapolis Colts and a QB. Ever since, oh geez, I just spaced on his name.
It's not Ryan Fitzpatrick, I'll tell you that.
No, that is one of my go-to forgets.
That's right. Nick Foles.
No, the QB that retired for the Colts because no, before that,
Andrew Luck.
Yes, thank you. Ever since Luck, they have been a rotating door of QBs. They've been pulling in old guys to try and fill the position and build up and get somebody, but they have yet to do that. This is their opportunity. They have a high pick. They could potentially get somebody like Stroud, and I think they should do that.
Stroud, Levis. There's enough of I won't say a naivety here, but there is enough of a stubbornness to this team, not to learning, but to adapting, where youth is the way to go. Filling in with another Matt Ryan isn't going to do it. Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, don't take someone who is in a different system and put in there. Let somebody come into the pro system on their own. I love the youth aspect of that Indianapolis, and it's 100% correct. The idea behind Sam Ellinger isn't bad, but he's a sixth rounder, and his stats from college didn't support what the system wants to do. Is there going to be some system change to the quarterback? Yeah, I think there's really going to be. I think it's going to be a two-way street. The wide receivers are going to have to come back in. You're going to have a second-year Jelani Woods, who is going to probably be a monster next year. Obviously Pittman, Pierce. You're going to be set in the wide receiver room, or in the receiver room in general. Get somebody who can just use the system to their advantage. Add another dynamic. It's very similar to Atlanta. And there's the fact that you don't just go out there and say that we're with this one dynamic team. Do something different. So that's my take on it. So I definitely love where we've gone with these 5 teams. Hi guys, this is Derek from the Fantasy Flyer. Part 4 of this did not upload the way that we wanted to. I don't know if it got corrupted or what might be the problem, but there's about 4 minutes left of this video, so I will just sum it up for part 2. It was called the Stocking Stuffer. We were going over fantasy lineup tips so that you can set your lineups accordingly. Just some tips such as, stream defenses based on matchups, grab backup RBs, stay on top of waiver wire and news, watch the weather reports, especially this time of year, move your early games out of the flex, play your studs, don't get too cute. And if you're the underdog deciding between 2 players, go with the boom bust option. There's no point in losing by 1 or losing by 17. It's still a loss. So you might as well go with somebody who has a 22-point ceiling or a 6-point floor. So just wanted to add that in because unfortunately it did not come out the way that we wanted to. So I'm going to let it go to the outro right now. Not the way we wanted to end the Christmas episode, but we appreciate all you guys tuning in. Have a happy holidays. Take care. Be well from me and Taylor at the Fantasy Flyer. We will see you guys Wednesday night. Thank you. Take care. Deuces.